having a bonfire. So what's it been like writing in lockdown?
Stressful. Writing an album alone has been a completely new experience. So I don't know. I guess you go through every sort of emotion there is. I guess it's been a blessing for us as well because it's given us extra time to work on the album. But yeah, I'd say stressful more than anything.
To be honest, the way I write usually is on my own mostly, so it's not been that much of a challenge. The only problems we've had is coming to vocal ideas, because we usually do it as a collaborative effort. So we'll all get in a room and try some melodies out, and that's been the main issue. But we've managed to do it through Zoom calls and. So it has been a struggle, but it's been a different process, which has got some different ideas out.
I found the writing process in lockdown to be. It felt like we had a lot more time to work on the songs, but also not an idea about when it was all going to end. So it felt like we were writing a lot of songs, putting some really good ideas out there, and then you kind of never really finished writing the song. It just kept coming back to it and things like that. So before we knew it, we had all these songs kind of thrown together, and then we had to spend a lot of time finalizing them because we had so many different ideas and different sounds and different things we wanted to do. The downside to doing it in lockdown, when we're doing it through Zoom calls and just throwing initial ideas together, you could spend hours on an idea that you thought was awesome, and then you'd present it to the guys, and maybe out of 3 minutes, they'd like about 3 seconds of it. So there was a lot of trial and error, especially when we were experimenting with different sounds.
So if I was writing outside of lockdown, it would have been even harder, to be honest, because I've got a full-time job, so I would only have weekends to do it. So the fact that lockdown happened, yeah, we would have got his album recorded by now, but it meant that I was able to get down the songs that I needed to get down properly.
It's been an interesting experience. Obviously, normally when we write, we usually get together, and not everybody had the means of recording, demoing, things like that at home, so that was a bit of a learning curve for some of us. We obviously got that all set up, made it so that it wasn't the highest quality thing, but just to be able to bounce demos back and forth was really good for the process. It was an interesting process of using, say, Dropbox and Zoom. Again, not much experience on the Zoom side of things. Dropbox mainly was getting into good habits of naming the files. Communication-wise, we had to be a lot better than we usually were. Saying, there's an updated file, can you check it, get notes, collating all those notes, things like that. But overall, it's still been an enjoyable experience, and because we've never wrote a full length, I don't have anything really to gauge it against other than the EP process.
Do you think the album has benefited from the lockdown?
The one good thing about lockdown and writing during this is we've had a lot more time to focus on it. We've obviously all got jobs, and I have had some extra time off, which has enabled me to really sit down with the songs and really go through them with a fine-tooth comb. So it doesn't feel rushed to me. We've been able to spend a lot more time on it, and hopefully the end product really shows that.
Yeah, recording during lockdown, we went through quite a lot of different. Right, what? No. Writing during lockdown went through quite a few different emotions and states of mind, I guess. There's a lot more doubt than I would normally have when I'm writing. At some points, a lot less confident, just in terms of not being able to really go anywhere, or to get a bit of inspiration, or just take a break from writing really. So it was a struggle at some points, but like everybody kind of mucked in and did their parts.
What's it been like having Craig join the band?
At the beginning, when Lee left, I did worry a little bit because you worry about whether you can fill that void. But then when Craig got on board, it just felt like it just clicked straight away. To be honest, he was sending back and forth like loads of demos with NG. It's like helped bring a more beaty vibe to the music, which I think is a really good element that's been added. Getting to know Craig properly, he's just as talented as any of us. I think we're a very lucky band in that we don't just have to rely on one or two people to come out with like some good lines or some good concepts. So we're very lucky in that aspect.
It's been really good getting Craig into the band. He's had a lot of input in terms of melody suggestions. He's really good at drums, so he comes up with some different beats that I probably wouldn't come up with. And it's been really helpful to have someone more involved with the writing process rather than just like kind of leaving it to me.
So I've known everybody that's in Captives quite a long time. Used to go and watch them all the time as well. So I was always, first and foremost, was always a fan of the band anyway, especially with them all being friends. So when they asked me to join, I was like kind of jumped at it. In terms of fitting into the band, I already liked the sound that the guys are going on anyway. I feel like me joining has added a little bit more of a technical element, I suppose. Like we've been writing a lot more lead lines and things like that, and just things that they hadn't experimented with in the EP. I feel like we're really getting to show a lot more dynamic stuff with the album.
I love Craig. Oh, Craig.
I love you, Craig.
I love you, Craig.
I love Craig.
Thank you. I love you too.
Now that you've known each other longer, do you think it's helped when writing the album?
Yeah, I feel a lot more confident within myself since doing the EP. Again, because I've got a bigger support network around me now. As like the band's grown, it's like become a big family now.
Yeah, I would say it's been easier to write now that we know each other more as people and as musicians. A lot more ideas getting brought to the table. I think when you first meet people, and it's quite a personal thing to write music with someone, especially when you're writing lyrics and you might feel a little bit embarrassed to say an idea. I think now all that's gone, especially with lyrics. I think through knowing people for longer as well, you know what kind of things they're going to gravitate towards musically, lyrically. So it takes out a bit of the process of the back and forth of going, oh, what about this? As much as we still do throw a lot of ideas at the wall, there's already like a self-filtering of going, well, I know that, these members of the band prefer things like this or don't like these kind of things. So the process is being quicker.
Yeah, that's true. So I wrote most of the EP before we even knew what singer we had in the band. So I was writing in a style where I thought there might be screaming involved. Whereas now I've started to write to kind of allow for Matt's vocals to really sing through the song. And give him space to do what he does best, which is something that we hadn't done previous.
So what's it been like working with Dan Mueller?
At the start, it was quite a surreal moment knowing that we were working with Dan. And he's got like a big reputation that comes with him, so it was really exciting for one. And then because of lockdown, we didn't get to meet him for ages. So yeah, it was crazy, like doing like Zoom meetings with the rest of the boys and him included, and him like going through our demos and saying which bits like he really liked and stuff. And it was just like quite a surreal moment that someone of that stature is like praising you for your music. It's a good experience. It'll definitely go down in like one of my top 10.
Dan's been really amazing to work with, to be honest. So we had the basis of most of the songs and basically sent them over to Dan to get feedback from there we've restructured, added new melody lines, changed choruses, and it's been really good to get someone on board who has worked with so many great artists, and he's been really instrumental in the process of finalizing the songs. Song DNA is like one of the things that's like come on board with the band. So we'll repeat parts and make sure that the song gels together and feels like a complete whole. Whereas before, we hadn't really thought about that sort of thing. We're just writing what feels good.
Working on the album, obviously as a band, but with having Dan on board helped us out greatly. Just in every aspect of the writing process, been able to trim away a lot of the stuff that wasn't needed, and it just made every song just really solid. So it's there's no filler in there. God, that's bit. It's all killer, no filler.
Working with Dan, it was a new set of, it were fresh ears. So even though we'd obviously put our input into each song, he was obviously coming up with completely different ideas that none of us in the band had thought about. So I thought it just helped progress the album a lot quicker with him involved in it.
How's it been writing a full-length album compared to writing your EP?
It's been good to write. It sounds strange calling them that, but like album tracks where it's not geared up to be a single. It's not near the 3-minute mark, or it's not the standard structure that you would normally do. It's been nice to write something that we can take as time in the song. If if it needs to be 4 or 5 minutes long, if that's what the song calls for, it's been nice to have that freedom and not have to just be like, well, it needs to be almost like all singles.
So writing a full length has been a challenge, but I feel like it hasn't in the same way because we've been able to experiment with different sounds. You only get a certain amount of songs to like showcase what the band is, whereas on an album you've got a bit more scope for experimentation and stuff like that. So I've enjoyed the writing process in that sense, being able to incorporate different styles and instruments, synths that we probably wouldn't be able to do on a shorter EP.
In your opinion, is what you've written for the album better than the EP?
Yeah, I think the lyrics that have been written for this album are definitely a lot more. I guess you can feel them a lot more when you hear them, and I think because so much more time has been put into this album than in the EP, time wise, everything. To be fair, a lot more like blood, sweat, and tears have come out of it through the lyrics. Because when we wrote the EP, the lyrics mainly came from me and Chris, and because we've had double the time to do the album, if not more, especially with outside help like Dan, he's again just helped the music and the lyrics and the melodies just rise a lot higher than what they would have done if it was just us writing the lyrics again.
Well, me personally, I didn't get to write most of the drums for the EP. So with the album, it's been completely different. Benji's been programming the drums in, but that's basically a guideline for me when it goes to double time, half time, and with everything else, fills, grooves, anything like that, I was able to add myself. So to be able to have time, especially during lockdown, to put my own ideas down helped a lot.
The album, in my opinion, is going to be better than the EP. There's a lot more dynamic range in there with the songs and with all the experiment we've been doing with different sounds and things like that. It's going to be the genre that the band is known for, but there's going to be quite a few surprises in there.
Yeah, it's a bit of a hard question to answer without sounding arrogant, but I do believe that the album is better than the EP. I think in some ways it had to be better than the EP. Obviously, when we wrote the EP, nobody knew who we were. We were a brand new band. There was a lot less pressure. There was all the usual pressures of obviously wanting it to sound good and people to like it. But now we know who those people are, the fans. There's a lot more at stake. because there's expectations, which is good. I think that's brought out the best in us and pushed us to really dig deep for, is it good enough for the album? As much as the EP's had a lot of great feedback, for me it's not a big enough body of work to sum up what the band really is. I think the album's going to sum us up. But yeah, I do think it is better, and I think the pressure has brought that out of us.
As you're about to begin the recording process for the album, how are you feeling and what are your hopes for the project?
It's been a big learning curve for me, and I think the album is it's weird because it's never really done until you've got it fully recorded and the masters back in your hand. But I feel like the songs that we've got going into the process are some of the strongest stuff we've done, and I've really learnt a lot about songwriting and crafting a song rather than a collection of riffs. And I feel I've pretty much grown as a musician through lockdown, just being able to focus on writing.
Well, based on the demoing for the album, I think it's going to be great. I'm excited to actually be in the same room as everybody now while we're laying the tracks down. I'm excited to work with Dan because he does a lot of good work as well. And just in general, I think it's going to be a great album. I've got a lot of confidence in the songs, and I'm sure everyone else will love it too.
I want to be proud of it. I think from what we've done already, I'm getting there. But once the drums are tracked and then we start getting the mixes back, I mean, even just the experience, it's been amazing to be able to do this. So it's something that I'm always going to remember. And by end of it, hopefully we'll have a cracking album.
I think what I'm really wanting to get out of the whole process at the end is to see the final result of all the hard work that we've put in over months and months and months of working on these songs, obviously with the help of Dan. I'm really excited to see what the final product's like and to step back and it's done, and that first listen of just listening to it through, I'm really excited about that.
I want to walk away with an album that I couldn't be any happier with, and I want to walk away with an experience that I can look back on and just smile. That'd be the perfect experience.
I say we
My
do
leg's
one
so
camera.
dead tired.
Ha 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 ha!